Hi, this is Violet at the Eager Readers, and we're participating in another Fragment Friday hosted by Book Chic Club. Today I'd like to read to you from Fly by Night by Frances Hardinge. This is a wonderful story that I love. It is an adventure story about a 12-year-old girl called Mosca Mai, who happens to be a very intelligent reader. And she lives in the Fractured Realm, which is a kingdom in which all the books have been banned. She goes on an adventure across the realm with two very interesting traveling companions. One is a goose called Saracen, who happens to be prone to murderous rages. The other is a very clever con man called Eponymous Clint. I'm going to read two short excerpts from the first chapter of this book, which is called A is for Arson. And the first introduces Choff, the town in which Mosca has grown up. It's a very unpleasant place. Choff could be found by straying as far as possible from anywhere comfortable or significant, and following the smell of damp. The village had long since surrendered to a seeping, creeping rot. The buildings rotted from the bottom upward. The trees rotted from the inside out. The carrots and turnips rotted from the outside in, and were pale and pulpy when they were dug out. Around and through the village, water seethed down the breakneck hillside in 1,000 winding streamlets. They hissed and gleamed through dark miles of pine forest above the village, chafing the white rocks and learning a strange milkiness. Choff itself was more a tumble than a town, the houses scattered down the incline as if stranded there after a violent flood. By day the villagers fought a losing battle against the damp. By night they slept and dreamed sodden, unimaginative dreams. On this particular night their dreams were a little ruffled by the unusual excitement of the day, but already the water that seeped into every soul was smoothing their minds back to placidity, like a duck's bill glossing its plumage. One mind, however, was wakeful and nursing the black flame of rebellion. At midnight the owner of that mind could be found hiding in the local magistrate's dovecote. That mind, of course, belongs to Mosca Mai, the heroine of the story, and she is on a mission to get the keys to the stocks, because the excitement that's mentioned in that passage that happened earlier in the day was the arrest of Eponymous Clint, a con man who recently came to town and has swindled several of the residents out of money. Mosca was actually not taken in by one of his cons, but was captivated by his words. He has an impressive vocabulary, and for Mosca, who is a reader living in a world of non-readers, his vocabulary is quite enchanting to her, and she has hopes of trading one favor for another. She will release him from the stocks if he will promise to take her with him when he leaves town. So I will skip ahead a little to their first conversation, in which she's offering to release him from the stocks. "What do you want?" Mosca swung her legs over to sit in the saddle more comfortably, and took the pipe out of her mouth. "I want a job." "I fear that adverse circumstances have deprived me of all monetary advantages and simple luxuries, and—" "Did you say a job?" "Yes." Mosca pointed to the stocks. "I got the keys to those, but if I let you out, you gotta give me a job and take me with you." "Fancy," Clint said with a faint, desolate laugh. "The child wishes to leave all this." He glanced around at the dripping trees, the bone-white stones, and the cold colors of the distant village. "I want to travel," Mosca declared. "The sooner the better," she added, with an apprehensive look over her shoulder. "Do you even have the first idea of what my profession entails?" "Yes," said Mosca. "You tell lies for money." Ah, my child, you have a flawed grasp of the nature of myth-making. I am a poet and a storyteller, a creator of ballads and sagas. Pray do not confuse the exercise of the imagination with mere mendacity. I am a master of the mysteries of words, their meanings and music and mellifluous magic. Mendacity, thought Mosca. Mellifluous? She did not know what they meant, but the words had shapes in her mind. She memorized them and stroked them in her thoughts like the curved backs of cats. Words, words, wonderful words. But lies, too. I hear you told the widow a story about how you was the son of a duke and was going to marry her when you came into your lands, but how you needed to borrow money so you could hire a lawyer and make your claim.
Ah, a very emotional woman. Tended to take figures of speech very literally.
And I heard you told the magistrate a story about how there was this cure for his aches which you just needed to send for, but which cost lots of money. And I heard you told all the shopkeepers a story about how your secretary was coming any day and bringing all your trunks and the rest of your money, so you could pay all your bills then.
Yes, quite true. Can't imagine what can have happened to the fellow.
They brand thieves' hands, don't they? Mosca added suddenly. Suppose they brand your tongue for lying. Suppose it stands to reason. Everything was quiet for a few moments, except for the rattle of water on rock and the sound of Clint swallowing dryly.
Yes, I have quite lost patience with that secretary of mine. I suppose I must let him go, which means that I have a vacancy. Do you have any qualifications or assets to offer as a secretary, may I ask?
I got these. Mosca jangled the keys.
A practical outlook and a concise way of speaking. Both very useful qualities. Very well, you may unlock me.
Mosca slid down from her stone throne and scrambled up the craggy pedestal to slot the key into the lock.
Purely out of interest, Clint asked as he watched her upside down, what so bewitches you about the idea of the traveling life?
There were many answers Mosca could have given him. She dreamed of a world without the eternal sounds of glass beads being shaken in a sieve and goblins chuckling in the ravines. She dreamed of a world where her best friend did not have feathers and a beak the color of pumpkin peel. She dreamed of a world where books did not rot or give way to green blot, where words and ideas were not things you were despised for treasuring. She dreamed of a world in which her stockings were not always wet. There was another, more pressing reason, though. Mosca raised her head and stared up the hillside toward the ragged tree line. The sky was warmed by a gentle redness, suggesting a soft but radiant dawn. The true dawn was still some 3 hours away. Very soon, Mosca said quietly, my uncle will wake up, and when he does, he's likely to notice that I've burned down his mill. Thank you for listening to our Fragment Friday. I hope you'll pick up Fly by Night by Frances Hardinge.